Hey everybody, this is Frankie Abbruzzino and this is the Scoop National News Show. What you're seeing on the screen right now is our protest against the migration over in Europe. A lot of people have concerns with it. A lot of people are opening arms, but the problem is we now have Germany coming out and saying, well, Merkel expects 1 million people to come over as refugees or migrants, the politically correct terminology, and we should accept them with open arms. They're demanding the United States take more than the 10,000 that we've accepted. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this. Should the U.S. take more? After all, we're over there basically, we're the powers that be that are behind the overthrowing of Assad and causing a large amount of the refugee crisis that is over there in Iraq and Syria. So do we bear more responsibility than taking 10,000 in? And the biggest issue is, and something I'm going to cover, is how do you filter through and find out which ones are these extremist ISIS? And if you were listening to my show last week, I covered where ISIS has actively come out and said, hey, look, we're going to send all of our people, our recruits out with all these refugees. We're going to swarm. And that's the way throughout history. And I think it was Medina with Muhammad, where they'll come in and they'll immigrate over to certain areas, gradually work into their ideology, into the political system, and next thing you know, it's dominated by the Muslim beliefs, ideologies, and it's ran like some of these cities like Mosul under ISIS control. So let's go ahead and get you away from that screen and over here, and there we go. Okay, so this is the Scoop National News Show. It is a one-man operation. I do everything from the Facebook pages, the national page, the local pages, where I first started doing it all, and the show. You'll see me distracted a few times if you want. This is recorded, but I am broadcasting live right now on Periscope. You can get there. My Periscope ID is the Scoop Alt News. You can find it on my Twitter. All right. It was a crazy weekend. All the news was about the migration. The news continues to be about the migration. I was out there trying to find some interesting stories to put out that didn't involve migration. It just seems like everything is about this issue. You had Germany come out, and besides showing concerns now about so many people coming in, they're introducing emergency border control measures. They're doing it with Austria, and even Italy is getting involved in there. And they're trying to limit the influx of refugees, which have soared unexpectedly higher than what they had anticipated. But what do you expect, folks? You open your doors, you say, come on in, we're going to give you free welfare, we're going to take care of you as best we can. They're going to come, especially when you're living in some of the poverty-stricken conditions, war and tour restrictions, totalitarian governments that you're living in over in Africa, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Afghanistan. And these are, even though they're saying Syrian, there's a lot of reports out there that these people primarily are not Syrian refugees, folks. So you get out there, Germany and Austria. They said, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to introduce border restrictions. Because they had more than, I think, Hungary said they had something more than 186,000 refugees that have passed through their border on their way up to Serbia. And this morning they're even saying there's a bit larger influx because a lot of people are trying to get through before these gates go up over in Hungary. And now I just posted something on the National Scoop, which we'll cover in a second when I just go over all the stories that are out there. And they're essentially putting a barbed wire up there too, which is concerning a lot of people. Then you have some stupid mistakes like Germany, where the Buchwald concentration camp, they decided to house some of the refugees there after they got off the train. It's like, what were you thinking? We had some deaths off Greece. They said that there were, the story said there's 4 infants and 11 other children drowned because they had a wooden boat that had about 130 people. And it's funny, not funny, but I was looking at the pricing this morning in another story, and they essentially said that the normal trip across that waterway is like $36, and they're charging these migrants something like $1,300 to make this deadly trip. And I say deadly because of this incident and many incidents like this where individuals are dying out there at sea. Their boats are capsizing and they're at risk. And so, and there's scores of them out there. Just scores of them out there trying to get away from the tyrannical governments that they're in right now. So, Hungary's expanding their gate. They're putting up razor Germany saying, look, we're going to stop the influx, and they just don't know what to do. And so what is the solution? And the biggest concern out there that I have, that many individuals have, is the ISIS factor, the Al-Qaeda factor, the Al-Nusra factor. Are they smuggling in through the refugees? Are they trying to infiltrate the West, primarily Europe, and possibly, yes, the United States, by setting up ISIS fundamentalists and send them out with the refugees to pretend they're refugees? And what it is the West needs to recognize that there's a shift in the Muslim population. And they're calling it, this one article that I read was calling it the fifth column. And essentially, like I said a couple days ago, actually I think I wrote about it in one of my articles, they're immigrating in the name of Allah to spread the fundamentalist ideologies that they believe in. Move to new land, bring Islam there. It's all part of their tenet. And if they essentially tell you, it's almost like their virgin thing. If you move and spread the cause of Allah, you'll find an abundance of, virgins in your bed. But the exact quote is up here. And whoever immigrates for the cause of Allah will find that on the earth, many locations and abundance, says the Quran. So do we have a great invasion, a hidden invasion, taking place right now? Y'all know back, I can't remember if I wrote or I said it on here, where ISIS said, hey, we're sending out 400,000 people, Islamist extremists, part of the ISIS state, and we're going to use this refugees crisis as a fifth call to integrate our Muslim fighters into the Western nations via the refugees crisis. Syrian operatives. There's this one. He claimed that there were more than 4,000 trained ISIS gunmen that have already been smuggled through Europe and hidden in the ranks of the refugees. So should we be upset? Should we be chastised and hungry for the action they're taking? I don't know. You know, you got ISIS, they're smuggling these covert gunmen across this border. There may be 4,000 fighters spread throughout Europe. So they're out there. They use the local smugglers. They blend in. They travel. They say, oh yeah, I'm Christian. They spread throughout Hungary, Austria, Italy, Germany, Belgium, Sweden. They're all coming from Lebanon, Jordan, Iraq, Syria. Many of the Christians, I was watching 60 Minutes last night. I forget the individual's name. It was that poor lady that was raped by several people in Egypt when the Muslim Brotherhood took over. I forget her name. But she was over in just outside of Mosul in Iraq. And she was talking about the terror that a lot of these Christians are going through when ISIS comes into town. As far as they put a symbol up, it's like a red circle with almost like a smiley face in the middle. And there's some meaning behind it. I forget, Natha or something like that is the word. And they compared it to how the Jews back during the Holocaust, back in Germany in the 30s and 40s, had the mark on their door. And how they're being basically exterminated from Iraq, Syria, and the Middle East, basically, all in the name of Allah and the ISIS fundamentalists. So they're hiding in churches, homes, wherever they can get. They're trying to run, trying to find salvation to avoid this conquering of Europe by fundamentalist extremists. You know, now they want America. Hey, you need to take more. And America said, okay, we're going to take 10,000. But the biggest issue is, how do you weed through these people and find out which ones are the extremists? And unfortunately, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra have just given Muslims such a bad name. And it's an excellent religion. But these fundamentalists are destroying it, just like many fundamentalists do damage to Catholics, Protestants, Jews, all of them. So they had this guy, this FBI counterterrorism expert, Michael Steinbach. He told Congress, hey, we have no way of vetting out the ISIS factor. So if you take all these people and we can't vet them out, we can ask them, are you a fundamentalist? No. Are you Muslim? No, I'm Catholic. Okay, you're in. So ISIS continues to take advantage of this because they consider it essentially a blind spot. Because we're soft-hearted. We want to help. And they're going to take advantage of it. And can you blame them? Most people would do the same. So that's basically what all I'm going to say on the migrant crisis. Let's go ahead and cover the national. In terms of Periscope, I can't see the writing coming up there. I didn't fix it right, and I'm new on it, so I don't know if they're asking any questions. Generally, you can ask me a question on there, and if I see it pop up, I'll respond. But let me see. I think if I do this... No idea how to do it. I'll have to play with it later. All right, so some of the national headlines I put out there. Obviously, the refugee crisis, and this was a Christian on a poor article. Oops, you guys aren't on that screen. Let me get you on that screen. If you're on Periscope, this is a radio talk TV show, so people actually see stuff on my screen that I play for off and on. Russian foreign minister, he's claiming that, hey, America knows where a lot of the ISIS positions are in Syria, and they're refusing to bomb it. And if you watch my show, you know the U.S. has been using ISIS to fight this proxy war against Assad. And that's what made it so funny when Obama's like, oh, we're going to go out and find the moderate rebels. And there were no moderates. But people say, oh, okay, yeah, let's go out and train them. Well, that obviously flopped because there are no moderates. El-Nusra will not go up against ISIS. Farc will not go up against ISIS. They basically work together. And when we're giving them this training in arms, they're saying, see ya, and going over to ISIS. We built this beast. Saudi Arabia, Israel, United States, we've been using the ISIS as a proxy to fight this war against Assad. Now, ISIS, and I explained yesterday, when you look at these news sources, you got to really delve into it and see what they're saying. This comes from RT. RT is Russian. It's coming from the Russian foreign minister. On the surface, you say, okay, what's the big deal? The problem is Russia and Iran are backing Assad. So, you got to dissect into it. And that's why it cracks me up. I had a guy. Actually, I received a few emails. I always get emails. Just tell me how much of an idiot I am. 5 years ago, I would have thought, wow. Now it's like, yeah, whatever. But he came on and he said, I'm sick and tired of seeing your liberal leftist agenda on my Facebook. And I'm thinking, me? Liberal leftist? Are you kidding me? And what it is I will put up Huffington Post, Mother Jones, Slate.com, left-leaning. I will put up WND, Alex Jones, Fox News. I put up right-leaning too. Because you just can't look at one story and say, that is the fact. That's the story we got to go with. That's the storyline. If I were to sit here and say, that's the fact, Syria, Russia says we're not bombing Syrian ISIS positions in Syria. If I didn't look at the fact that this was coming from a Russian who is backing Assad and sit there and wonder how accurate it is without going and checking the other side and finding the middle ground, I'd be a bit disingenuous, wouldn't I? I wouldn't. I mean, I'm not up there trying to give everyone all the facts, and that's what I think is missing a lot of times. I like throwing it all up there. There's some stuff I put up on these sites, on my national page, I just cringe. And sometimes I don't even want to read the story because I'll see the headline and I'll be like, yeah, I can't do it. If I read the story, I won't put this up there. And so I'll just post it. And you get the gist of what the article is about just by the story. We had another cop shooting. It's getting bad out there. And I'm going to talk about many of my concerns with the police officers. And I put out an article the other day about some concerns. And I'm going to talk today, I think, a little bit about the national police and some other issues that I have. But by no means should you go out and shoot these guys. This is ridiculous. What did this poor officer that was killed today out of Kentucky ever do to this idiot? He gunned down this rookie Kentucky State Trooper. The guy that did it, that just was captured, I just posted up there, is African American. Is this all part of that Black Panther call to go out and shoot the white man, shoot the cops, no matter if they're white or black? The guy, I forget the guy's name, he was doing it on Blog Talk. We can't have this, folks. We can't have this. Feds, they're going to announce their big rate. This is it. A lot of people say if they raise rates, that means the economy is looking good. People will be happy. If they don't raise rates, people will be very concerned. What are they going to do? Some other people are saying they're going to push for QE4. The big question will be answered on Wednesday. Hillary, now there's a 5-month gap in her email. Her credibility's just gone to hell. Bernie Sanders, I think, is polling 20 or 30% better than her in Iowa. Bernie Sanders, who's he's come out, he's told everyone he's a socialist. He's got very left-leaning ideas, but you know what? They'd rather go with him because he's more trustworthy than her. Same with Donald Trump. A lot of people feel like Donald Trump is being honest and upfront and talking to them at their level versus a Jeb Bush. The razor wire. I'm going to play this video in a little bit. It's about 2 San Francisco police detectives joking about shooting a suspect with his hands up. American flying the wrong plane out. There's a good story on there about life in Zatari refugee camp with no electricity, no space, or no sleep, and no escape. But and I hate to sound cold-hearted, folks, but the fact is life. I'm looking at the picture on it. Life may be better there than where they were at. A lot of these people are coming from places that were basically worse than our worst ghettos. They had no electric, no running water, very little space. There was no escape because you were under this tyrannical government. Now, obviously, some of them escaped, fortunately. But I get what they mean. I wouldn't want to be in that environment either. But you got to look at the greater picture. This is neat. This prosthetic hand can actually feel what touches them for the first time. That's on all these stories are on the Scoop National News.com. Mother wakes up from a coma after having her kid. Here's a story I didn't read yet and I want to. It's about a water stored at the Fukushima nuclear reactor. Purified. They say purified. Was sent to sea. That was on NBC. You know what? It's only had a reach of 327 people and one person has clicked through it. Where's the interest in stuff like this, folks? About what this Fukushima plant is doing to the waters. Now, it might be over in Japan, but that water comes here with the tides, the fish, the food supply we get from there. My wife was at a store the other day, and she was getting some kind of fish. And it said from Japan. She's like, why are you selling this? I'm not going to eat this. How do I know it's not polluted or contaminated with some kind of radiation? And the guy's like, what are you talking about? Fukushima, the radiation spill and all the contamination. No, I don't know what you're talking about. Wake up, America. Trump, we're going to talk a little bit about him later. Some diet tricks. Kansas woman. Let me see. What else we got here? Chicago violence. Here's another great reason why you don't want gun control. Chicago weekend violence. 18 wounded, 1 dead, 1 man shot 9 times. And then he drove himself to the hospital. Chicago has gun control, folks. And it's not working out too well. Let's see. That's about it for now. Soros, we're going to talk a little bit about him. Taliban fighters. Okay, that's good enough for now. Now, we're going to take a break. I'm going to go ahead and switch out to some other stuff. What happens is, essentially, I put up documentation for a lot of the facts because I'm old. I'm knocking on 50, and I'd like to make sure I cover everything. So I'll pull up a bunch of different articles, and that'll refresh my memory as you're sitting up on the screen. Sometimes I'll send you over to them, which I think I'm going to do on this one. We're going to play a video. So you're going to hear basically that intro picture with some music, and I'll be back momentarily in a second. Alright folks, I'm back. Next, we're going to go into that video, which I briefly touched on. And essentially it has, I don't know how much I'm going to play. It's a 20-minute video, and I may fast forward during some of it. I'm going to try to play maybe 3 minutes of it. The beginning is where you see some concerns. And I'll elaborate what my thoughts are on it after you see it. You know, a lot of people, I had one person say, this is a bunch of liberal trash, garbage. How is it liberal? I see people that have concerns with officers and the way they're violating our constitutional rights on the right and left. Get rid of the titles. Why does it have to be liberal? Why does it have to be right? It's a distraction. If it's wrong, it's wrong. I'm going to elaborate after we see it. So let's go to the video. Why don't we do a full screen for that? So hold on one second. Let me get it going.
I don't answer questions, I'm sorry.
Do you have any ID on you?
Did I break any laws?
They're wondering why you...
Did I break any? Am I free to go or am I being detained?
I'll call the military guys.
Am I being detained or am I free to go?
I'm sorry?
Am I being detained or am I free to go?
You're definitely being detained. Yes.
What law did I break?
Do you have some type of
What law did I
identification on
break?
You see the identification.
What law did I break?
Why are you taking pictures of the military base?
What law did I break?
Why are you taking pictures of the military base?
Is it against the law?
Yes, sir, it is.
It
Let me
is.
see your driver's license. Legal shield, what is this? Where are you going?
And what is your name? Yeoman? L. Yeoman?
That's correct. Badge number is 364.
364.
Make sure you get that.
All right. Am I free to go or am I being
No, sir,
detained?
you're not free to go.
What law did I break?
Why are you out here taking pictures of that
What
military
law did I
base?
break?
Why are you out here taking pictures of the
What law
military
did I
base?
break?
What is your name?
What law did I break?
What is your name?
What law did I break?
Don't worry about what law
No,
you broke.
I am worried about what law I broke.
You broke a law by taking pictures
No,
of
I
the military
didn't.
base. That's the law you
That's
broke.
not a law. That's upheld by the First
How do you
Amendment.
know that?
Because I've talked to my lawyers.
Okay, what you said to your lawyers.
Huh?
I said I don't care what you said
And the
to your
Supreme
lawyers.
Court
I don't
ruled.
care about your
and
lawyers.
yeah, you don't care about the law. Didn't you take an oath?
You have some type of identification
Yeoman.
on you?
I don't answer
No,
questions.
you don't have. That's all he. Yeah, that's all you got. Some legal card.
Am I being detained or am I free
Yes,
to
sir.
go?
You are being
For
detained.
what law? So you are illegally detaining me.
Call it illegal, whatever. Call it whatever you want to call
Yeah,
it.
illegal detainment. You are illegally detaining me, and I'm going to have a field day with this.
You go right ahead. Field day with it. Whatever you want to have a field day with.
Yep. I don't consent to illegal searches, detainments, or this conversation.
Tag 7604 Henry Frank is left through the back parking lot. The black male driver, skinny build, white t-shirt, black shorts, brake.
You having a problem or something?
Plaintiff tried to follow him, but it didn't work.
I'm being illegally detained.
It'll work, depending on which side it was on. Can you run that tag and find out if that
Yep.
Yeoman 364, huh?
That's
Okay.
correct. 364 Tampa Police Department.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, you don't care about the Constitution.
Apparently you don't.
I do.
You don't give a damn about it.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm fighting for. That's what I served for. I know more about the Constitution than you, and you're supposed to be a fucking officer.
You know a damn thing about it. You're supposed to be a fucking American.
I'm a fucking American. Stand up for our
Apparently you
constitutional
don't. You're
rights.
not even shit. You're out here taking pictures of a damn military base.
So what? They don't like it, put a fucking wall around it. Did I go in there? Did I trespass on their property? No. So you're illegally detaining me for not breaking any fucking laws.
I don't know what laws you broke. Why don't you tell me what
You don't know what laws I broke,
What
and you're
laws have you
detaining me.
broke?
I didn't break any laws. And you're here detaining me without breaking
I
any
don't
laws.
believe
You even admitted it.
You better get your damn finger down out of my face.
Well, you better let me fucking go. The whole Tampa PD is going to come down on your ass. Once my lawyer gets this.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, shit.
Oh, so what am I supposed to do now?
Well, shit, you fucking better retire.
Fall right back in
You're
the
gonna
hole?
get fired. Shit, you probably crawled out from under a shit pile.
That's where I found you at just now.
Yeah, because I was looking for you. I was with your mother.
Stupid clown.
Yeah, that's where I was with your mother at.
You would know my mother should walk up and slap you in the damn face right now.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Police brutality. Go ahead. Go ahead. You know this is going on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what?
Show them what the ass clowns they got in Tampa all.
Yeah, they the one that's standing here holding a camera. That's the
Yeah.
type of ass clown.
All right, so a few issues there. First of all, folks, obviously the officer had an attitude. He didn't have to start cussing at the guy and basically be a douchebag. Did the guy have to agitate him? No, he did not. But there's a bigger issue here, folks. And it's the same issue I had when people probably thought I was being an idiot. Here it is, a veteran. This guy served his country. He's in a wheelchair, so sometime between being a veteran, I don't know if he was injured while being a veteran or afterwards, he ended up in a wheelchair. I'm a veteran. I know on Navy bases, there's nothing really visible that's going to cause any issues out in the open near the gate. Usually it's all inward. And B, I could get on the base. This guy, if he's injured in the war, he could get on. It's not that big of a deal to get on the base. If he was on the base taking pictures, sure, I'd have issues. But the guy's rolling around in his wheelchair. The guy's, you saw the video, the guy's at what, waist level? There's big bushes up there. He can barely even take a picture over it. So this cop comes up and decides to be a jerk. The issue I have is overextending your power. He could have got out of the car and said, hey, look, there's no law against taking pictures of a base like you're doing, but we'd really appreciate it if you would just move on. Could you just move on? Great tact, would have worked wonders. No, he gets out of the car, I want your ID. First of all, folks, all you need to know, if you have not broken a law, if a cop pulls you over for the hell of it, you don't have to give your ID. Now, it may mean that you're going to sit there for a while going like this guy. He ended up sitting there for 20 minutes going through all this rigmarole, but you don't have to give up your ID. Unfortunately, in Venice, if I get pulled over, everybody knows me. So I don't have to pull. I can't sit there and say, I'm not giving you ID. They'll be like, Frank, give us your ID, idiot. You don't have to give up your ID. But then again, it's going to cause you problems. But legally, you don't have to. Legally, you can take pictures of outside the base like that. Legally, you can film these officers. A lot of time officers say, you can't film me? That's bull. There's a Supreme Court ruling, and I've put it on my site many times. You can film these guys. And look what it's done for society. It's brought an issue to national attention, which we're going to touch on. That guy didn't have to start calling him an ass clown and basically chastising the individual, treating him like he was dog crap. And if you watch the video, it is on my site. If you go there at the end, you'll see the military police comes out. He comes up. He says, hey, what's going on? The guy's like, hey, am I being detained? Is it illegal to take pictures of the base? The guy's like, no. He's like, so can I go? And the guy's like, yeah. So he kept this handicapped dude out there in this hot sun. It's hot because you'll see throughout the video the officer's like wiping down. He goes back and forth to his car a few times to get a towel. They kept him there just to be jerks and abuse their power. Once a military cop got there, he's like, no, you're not doing anything wrong. You're free to go. And the guy's like, all right, bye. And he left. And the biggest issue is this abuse of power. If you let them get away with doing this, what else will they do? Just like when I was out at that chamber meeting, up against the wall with 10 feet in front of me. And the guy, either knowing who I am or just a jerk, decided to tell me I'm a fire hazard. But him standing directly in front of a door isn't a fire hazard. But because he's working. While I'm working, I'm reporting on this. What's the difference? And then, as you know, if you listen to my show, I contacted the fire marshal. I contacted the city hall. And they said, no, there's no rule like that. So this officer made up his own rule. I contacted police chief. And I never hear back. He wrote me and said, oh, Lieutenant, I know. We'll get back to you. He never did. And so the question is, what is happening to our police force? Actually, you know what? Before that, because I want to bring it in with this whole mayor thing. I got this article up here that up in front of me. It talks about Freddie Gray and that whole settlement. I didn't hear it too much on national news. I'm not sure why, but it's a $6.4 million settlement. $6.4 million, folks. And just the amount ought to have you flabbergasted, right? You should be like, whoa, what the? But here's the issue. The family has yet to file a lawsuit that's related to Freddie's death. There's no lawsuit, no action being taken yet. They decided to jump the gun and say, here's $6.4 million. They haven't even really gone through pre-trial stuff yet. And then the mayor, this idiot who's not running again, God, what an idiot. She comes out and says, well, it's to avoid potential harm to the community and the divisiveness which has taken place. Now, what some people will call that is a payoff. It's a payoff, folks. She's hoping, the city's hoping, and the city council that approved it will pay $6.4 million. There won't be any more riots. It'll cure the city. Baltimore will go back. There will be no more strife. But they were wrong because the protests continued after that. Now, they were going to file a wrongful death suit, but they haven't yet. The family was actually waiting for the investigation then. But to settle prior to any adjudication on the criminal case, it's just obscene. I mean, it's obscene. No civil litigation's been filed. No guilt has been determined. Yes, she's going to go out and do this payoff, this Mayor Rawlings Blake. Now, she says it's not related to the 6 officers, but how do you think this is going to impact them? Basically, the city's coming in and saying, we're wrong. The cops did everything wrong. Forget the fact that there was some other criminal or some other guy that was arrested in the van drawing concern, saying the guy looked like he was trying to hurt himself. I don't know what the full story is. I don't know if these 6 officers did something. I don't know if Freddie Gray hurt himself. I do know that it's absurd to pay out that much money prior to any litigation being filed, prior to any arrest, prior to anything taking place. How can the city justify that? If I was a city resident of Baltimore, I would be pissed. But politicians make these stupid, dumbass moves daily, folks. It's ridiculous. This mayor, she hasn't supported the officers whatsoever. And look, you support them until you find out they did wrong. Like there's 2 sheriffs. I was watching, I think a video on here today. There's a sheriff, and they had a prostitution thing going down. Ends up, there was a shooting and some other issues that took place. But ends up that 2 of his sheriffs were soliciting this prostitute. The guy came out, and they admitted it. They fessed up. There's all kinds of documentation on it. He came out and said, look, I support my guys, the guys that brought down this prostitute, but these 2 individuals, I do not support. I will not support. I will not condone this action. And I get that. But these 6 guys over in Baltimore, they say they didn't do anything. They have some evidence that indicates they didn't do anything. Now, there is some evidence that maybe something happened. Nobody knows the true story. As a mayor, she should not be condoning these guys prior to any information, be it any factual information that comes out. I can, because I'm not the mayor. I'm some guy on a talk radio. And I'm not even ready to do that. But what I wanted to look at is, what's bringing all this on? Why is our police force getting this way? Whatever happened to cause us to institute this militarized police force, this federal police agency that acts the way they do, that has built up so much distrust with the public that they're supposed to protect and serve? And I think a lot of it has to do with the federal government. They're creating these unconstitutional agencies. through their aid, through their mandates. And what they're doing is they're basically bribing the local police, transforming them into a national police force. You know, a lot of us remember, or would like to remember, when it was all localized, and the policeman's job was to protect and to serve. Protect the public against violent, fraudulent crimes. And many of them still try to do that. There's actually a sheriff. He was on InfoWars. He's running for sheriff, I believe, in Dallas. This guy was excellent. He said, you know the difference between essentially a sheriff and a police is I'm elected. Or I'm elected by the people, whereas the police chief is put into office by the city council, politicians. He goes, I am here to uphold the Constitution. And I got to track down that interview. It was just awesome to sit there and listen to the sheriff talk about how he will not come and grab the guns, how he wants to fight for the Constitution. And basically his whole thought process revolves around the Constitution as it applies to his doing his job of being an officer. All right, so we go out. We got these nationalized police, right? Everything's being radically changed. And why? It's being changed because of terrorist incidents, the rioting, all the upsurge in criminal activity. We got TSA, you know, the federal agencies are some of the worst. You got TSA, they're doing the pat-downs, their scans, their interrogations. And this all comes from 9/11, the fall from there to protect us. Everything's to protect us. We're going to put up cameras, take away your privacy to protect you. We're going to do these pat-downs by the TSA to protect you. They haven't stopped one criminal terrorist act yet. But they keep giving birth to one federal agency after another, one federal agency after another. Homeland Security, agriculture, education, energy. Do you realize that all these people have SWAT-style police forces? Why? They're buying ammunition out the yin-yang. Why does the Department of Education need a ammo? That's the question. So now you got tens of thousands of federal police running all around in different uniforms. And the U.S. Constitution gives them no authority to do this. Our congressmen don't even know how many there are out there operating. They're trying to pass this H.R. 4934, but it just doesn't get any GOP support. So it's not just the bureaucrat. The politicians are in there too, and they're trying to transform our local police into these federal government nationalized police force, equipping, training, giving them the grants to do all this. You know, Obama, he stepped up. He says, oh, we don't want this. This can't happen. Yet he has been moving full speed ahead with the whole nationalization, militarization of our police force. He didn't start it, but he's been one of the presidents that's done more for it. He's transferred more weapons, more military equipment to these military officers than any other presidents. Then everybody saw Ferguson. They saw the excessive force, the militarization of the police, and everybody's up in arms. Oh, so Obama comes out and says, well, we can't have this. We need to rein it in. But is he really doing that? Is he really reining it in? Because the government has no business militarizing or meddling into local law enforcement. I don't think he is. He will continue to militarize local police. He is continuing to militarize local police. You know, he sat there, he set up a committee. Oh, God, what was it? Let me see if it's up on here. He set up a committee, and I forget the name of it. Ay. All right, we had to decline that. Sorry, I should have turned the phone off. Okay. He set up this committee, and he said, we're going to follow whatever they say we should do. And they came back and said, we need to militarize, nationalize the police force. through training and record keeping. Not essentially saying nationalize, militarize, but giving the direction that will only lead to nationalizing and militarizing our police force. Standards that will militarize our police force, continue to militarize them, continue to the walk down that nationalized police force road. You know, and right now, our Constitution basically comes out and says, hey, look, the government can only prosecute for treason, piracy, counterfeiting. Yet thousands of crimes are now on the book. They can get you for robbery, rape, and the list goes on and on. When did we start to allow this? When did we let our guard down? Why do police chiefs and sheriffs just sit there and allow the federal government to do this, essentially violating the constitutionally protected jurisdictions that they're within? Because these programs tend to co-opt and corrupt the local police. You know, federal programs like the war on drugs. I could go on that for hours. What a farce. How about buffer zones? You know, with the night technology, Stingray, night vision cameras, facial recognition, license plate readers. I just hit a story the other day where they're expanding that to street sweepers and garbage picker-uppers. How about the fusion centers? You don't hear too much about that. The old fusion centers, let me close that down, where they're going to store massive amounts of data on us. Which is another reason people, you know, I put out something the other day just decrying the whole national ID, veterans ID, and collection of data. And people think you're crazy. But it's not, folks. So, you know, local police, they have this fear of losing their welfare dole-out that they've been getting. So they'll continue to do this unconstitutional action, going down that road towards nationalization. The other thing, too, is the Department of Justice. They'll sit there and they'll threaten lawsuits. So the police are almost have to go down that road. It's like, if you don't do X, Y, Z, we're going to pursue a suit against you guys. So to avoid the costly legal battle, they just jump right in and say, okay, we're going to go along with everybody else. And what it's doing is changing the face of policing in America. And it's doing it through illegal and unconstitutional methods. And if you sit there and mistakenly believe these are reforms that are going to yield a more accountable, responsible police force, you're wrong. You're in for a rude awakening. And I think we already see that with a lot of the alarming trends that are out there, folks. You know, officers like this guy here in this video. I truly feel sorry for that veteran. All right, we'll be right back after I pull up the next factual documentation and get some water. All right, we are back. I tell you, sometimes being a one-man operation really sucks because I'm doing like 5 different things here without people maybe realizing it. It's hot. Forgot to crank down the AC, so I'm sweating like crazy. Forgot to turn off the phone. That's the way I roll, folks. That's the way I roll. All right. Let's check real quick. I just wanted to see if there's any new news out there on Twitter. Sometimes when I'm on this thing, breaking stories will come out. You know, they're talking a lot about the volcano. Nothing there. Bunch of garbage. Nothing new. You guys aren't missing anything pressing right now. How about the Taliban fighters? They freed more than 350 prisoners in an Afghan prison. Oh, things are going just great there ever since we pulled out. You know, Vice says 400, Reuters says 350, so I'm not sure what the exact number is there. All right, so let's go ahead, and I wanted to talk about this poll that came out because I thought it was real interesting about the sheeple, and it's about it's interesting and disturbing, and it's about the amount of Americans, 29%, that would support a military coup. Yes, you heard me right. 29% of the Americans out there would support a coup. What are they thinking? I almost feel like I'm in one of those Mark Dice videos where you go out to the pier and you ask people, "What's the 4th of July? What are we celebrating? The independence from Mexico in 1200? Oh yeah, that's what we're celebrating." People just don't pay attention. They just don't get it. And why? Why do they want a coup? And the only thing you could think of, you got people like Soros, wealthy oligarchs, and these special interests out there that are controlling the direction of our government. They're controlling the way we're going in society. But, if you think about it, we're allowing them to do this. We're allowing people like Hillary Clinton to sit there and say, "I didn't scrub anything. You mean with a towel on my email?" And get away with it. Benghazi, what difference does it make? Bonehead Boyner. It's not just the Democrats. You got Republicans. Boyner. People send him to office to do certain things, and he does the exact opposite. But he comes out and he'll say, "Oh, we're trying." It was funny. All the Republicans, when the Democrats were in control, essentially, they'd come out and say, hold these freaking rigged votes on Obamacare, where they'd pass it. They'd pass it knowing that no action was going to be taken on it, but to project an image out to their Republican loyalist. Once they get the office, they don't do crap. They don't do anything about it. That's because they're part of the problem. Republicans are just as bad and part of the problem as the Democrats, folks. I look at the ticket, and who do we have on there? Hillary and Sanders. So Hillary, I just don't trust her. Not just talking Benghazi or the email. It just goes back to other things. Hubble, there's the one for you. Sanders. You listen to some of his talk, I just don't, he's too far left for me. Too far left to me. Too socialist. Almost borderline communist. They got another guy in there, I forget his name. Republicans, Rubio, I think he's the biggest idiot. I cannot trust him. I think he's your typical politician. Jeb Bush, he's just trying to continue with the oligarchy of his Bush family. He's got the money. He's not going to do anything for the people. Same with Trump. Who do we have? There's not a lot of options. You got to think out of 300, what do we have? 360, 80 million people here in the United States? These 10 or 20 idiots are the best we can come up with? There's nothing better out there for us to run our country? And it's the same here locally. Oh my God, if I'm not taking your call, it's for a reason, woman. Same with us here locally, folks. We have politicians who'll run for local city council. Nobody runs against them. Yet they'll all sit there and complain about them. And so you get these idiots in office, and I remember one of them, nobody ran against them, and primarily because it just doesn't pay. You work 40, 60 hours, you get maybe $16,000 a year. It just doesn't pay to run for the office. And, a lot of people are like, well, you're doing a greater good for your community. And that only goes so far, folks. I can tell you this. I did 5 years of the Venice Scoop for free. I would go out there, promote businesses, help out every individual. And it counts for nothing. Nobody remembers that. People still think I'm an idiot. I feel like if I were in trouble today and I were to go out to the community that I supported and helped significantly, you can't find one person in this community that says Frank has not done a ton. I tell you what. Hold on one second. I think my daughter's writing me now. Maybe that's why my wife's calling me. Dad, I don't feel good. My tummy hurts. I will call you in a minute. All right. All right, look, you know what? I was going to go on with all this. I think that's probably why my wife is calling me. So, sorry, we got to cut the show short. One of those things where I'm not making a dime on it. I'm just out there trying to help other people realize the bigger picture, and to get you off this Republican leftist leaning, rightist leaning, progressive. What's she writing now? All right. I got to go because she wants me to call her soon. Everybody, have a great day. Sorry for cutting it short. This is Frankie, and I will talk to you tomorrow.